Alright all, and welcome back to another video and another weekend preview of the action ahead of us this weekend. It's going to be a bit of an odds and sods round. We've got racing from Wincanton, from Navan, and of course over in Keeneland at the Breeders' Cup. We're going to be doing a bit of everything, to be honest, and hopefully try and get some things in and get a few talking points going. It's a Friday morning at the moment. It is 11:20, so the official declarations for Sunday have come in, which has helped just with the races at Navan that I'm covering, and obviously the Wincanton ones were in from yesterday, and the prices haven't changed too much overnight. As you can see, the Mo is growing a little bit. The link will still be in the description below. Do what you want with it if you feel. But getting into the action, starting off with Wincanton and the Elite Hurdle, and it's going to be a pretty boring start in terms of me putting up the 11-10 favourite Sceau Royale. I think he's a very solid favourite in this race. I don't like an awful lot of these. Solo is a horse I couldn't touch. His Fujimoto Flyer and Trem Wedge form from Kempton is just nowhere near the mark, and he ran very well in a pretty average Triumph Hurdle. He ran very poorly, so it's hard to quantify. Maybe having been gelded, we might see him to better effect this year. I wouldn't rule that out, but he's certainly not a betting proposition for me at 5-2. Diego de Charmy, a bit like Sceau Royale, is probably best seen over fences, but maybe not quite as adaptable as the favourite. And Master Debonair is a horse I've never really taken to in the first place, but also you have to be very tempered by Colin Tizard's form at the moment. So Sceau Royale, I know it's a boring selection, but he was so good at Foss last time out, beating Ballyandy. I think Ballyandy would beat the majority of these as well. That was a very good performance. He's obviously been a rock-solid horse. 2 miles over hurdles and over fences. I think he's won this race before back in 2016. He's only 8 years old. It feels like Sceau Royale's been around for decades at this stage, because he keeps coming back and back for another bite of the cherry, but he's not actually that old. He's still, I wouldn't say he's an improving horse, but he is a very solid horse at the level he is at, and I think that level could well be just too good for these in the Elite Hurdle. It's a shame Goshen isn't running, but obviously ground concerns. The ground is going to be good tomorrow, I suspect, so probably not suitable for Goshen, and it will be suitable for Sceau Royale. He's always acted quite nicely with these sort of conditions, so I think he'll be hard to beat. It is an unoriginal angle into the race, but I think he will win. The Rising Stars Novices Chase over 2 mile 4 is a race that's cut up quite badly, unfortunately. It looked to be a very good 5-runner race with Fiddler on the Roof, and if the cap fits, adding to this 3-strong field of Grand Sancy, Gallo and Hurricane Harvey. And I know it's an old adage, but I will be taking the outsider at 3 in this, Hurricane Harvey. I think he's actually worth a small bet at 9-2. Grand Sancy is a very solid favourite. He's a favourite that I suspect could easily win, and could easily win quick, or could easily win very well, especially given the fact that Paul Nicholls is so dominant around his local track in Wincanton. But this Hurricane Harvey did it quite nicely at Utoxeter when he beat Emma Tom, and he made a few fiddly mistakes that day, unlike Emma Tom that actually jumped superbly at Utoxeter. I know Emma Tom was disappointing last time out at Foss last, but I wouldn't look into that race too much. Well, from his perspective, he was being niggled along very early by Adrian Heskin. He was never happy, never on the bridle, and didn't seem to run his race whatsoever. He ran more of his race at Utoxeter, and this horse picked him up, which I thought was quite impressive. He was a progressive novice hurdler last year, culminating in finishing 3rd in the valuable handicap hurdle behind MacFabulous at Kempton the day after Cheltenham finished, and he ran very well that day and made, as I say, a winning Chase debut. He's 9-2 in this. I think it's just worth a small bet, because I know he's having to give a bit away to Gallo, but Gallo hasn't beaten too much. I think beating Emma Tom is actually a bit better than that. Even Grand Sancy, him winning his last race, obviously Longhouse Sale for Dan Skelton and Harry Skelton just completely bombed out, and he only had to beat one home in the end, which wasn't a brilliant rival at that. You'd expect all 3 of these runners to beat that horse. So it might be worth something. I know maybe it's something stupid taking on Grand Sancy at 4-6, but he's not a horse I've particularly warmed to, and this Hurricane Harvey's a pretty gutsy horse, and maybe we can worry the favourite out of things. And the final race at Wincanton is the Badger Beers Handicap Chase, and another race that Paul Nicholls has done very well in, and he holds two at the top of the market in Danny Whizbang and Present Man. I'm going to oppose the two of them, which again may be risky. We might be sitting here on Saturday evening with Paul Nicholls putting in a 4-timer or something, and us going, oh, geez, why did I take them on? But I think it's worth at the prices. I don't think either of them really deserve to be 5-1. And I'll take a chance here on Potterman for Alan King and Tom Cannon at 10-1 off a mark of 142. He's a 7-year-old, but he's progressive 7-year-old at that. He needs this good ground though. This is the key to him. He won a good ground market race in Handicap 2 starts back, where he beat El Presente back into third. He was actually shorter than him in the market for this race, which I can't see why. That was off a mark of 137. He was raised £5 for that effort and finished second behind Secret Investor at Chepstow at their open meeting, off a mark of 142. Now, Secret Investor is a very good horse who ran Native River quite close last year, so I would assume, my thought process is that Secret Investor is a better horse than both Danny Whizbang and Present Man. So if you're taking it kind of almost collaterally, maybe Potterman does have a chance in this race. I don't think the mark is beyond him, and especially on this type of ground, could run a big race. Moving on to Saturday evening, and it is the Breeders' Cup. The Breeders' Cup is on Friday. It's on tonight and tomorrow evening. I will be watching it. Obviously, you guys know how much of a fan of Jessica Harrington is. If I'm being honest, I probably will have a few small wagers on her runners, Cadillac, Unadata and KM Pepper over the 2 days, but I'm not going to put them up. In fact, my knowledge of American racing is not up to scratch. I don't want to bluff. I don't want to spoof. So instead, I'm just going to be putting up one bet for the entire of the Breeders' Cup, and it comes in the Breeders' Cup Classic, and which doesn't have any UK or Ireland runners. But to be honest, looking through the cards, like I'm sure there will be UK and Ireland winners, but I wouldn't be overly convinced where they're coming from, to be honest. I think there will be a few of them, but I'm not sure who. So that does temper my enthusiasm. I'm not going to be wasting money just backing heaps of them. So with just one bet I'm going to put up, and it's in the Breeders' Cup Classic, and it is Tiz the Law at 10-3. A horse I quite like. It's hard not to like him. He was so good earlier in the season when he won the Florida Derby, the Belmont, and the Travers. He then finished second to Authentic in the Kentucky Derby. He still ran very well that day. Authentic reopposes here for Bob Baffert, but has been disappointing since. So it's going to be interesting. He's been freshened up since that Kentucky Derby performance, and I think this has been the long-term goal for this horse. Trained by Barclay Tag, Manny Franco will take the ride. He's 10-3. I think it's a fair price against the favourite Improbable, who's 5-2. I think there's just enough to take on in this race. Authentic's there. Maximum Security hasn't looked quite himself as well this year. So I think he's still potentially the improver of the lot. 10-3 is a price I'm going to be worth taking. It's just one bet for the Breeders' Cup, but it comes in the biggie on Saturday on the dirt, and hopefully Tiz the Law can get back to winning ways. Moving on to Navan on Sunday, which is obviously much better racing, as we all well know. Starting off with the Lismullen Hurdle over 2 mile 4, and a really interesting race. 9 have been declared, and some good horses at that. With Cracking Smart, Sire de Burley, one of my horses to follow, French Dynamite, runs over hurdles. I thought he might go novice chasing this year. Looks like they might have another year over hurdles with him, which is interesting, a bit like Jason the Militant. Can't begrudge them for doing that. He's still a very young horse. 6 shooters, an upwardly progressive horse. But the one I'll be taking in this race, the odds haven't come out yet, so unfortunately I can't give you a price that I'm taking right now, but I suppose I'll fill it in the description in the box where I put all my selections when the price does come out, and it is Ronald Pump, another one of my horses to follow. I think this horse could actually scale a pretty high rank over staying hurdles this year. Perhaps the only thing is that 2 mile 4 might be a little bit sharp on reappearance. That being said, he won on reappearance over 2 mile 5 in a pretty hot beginner's chase last year, beating Captain CJ, Bapome, all at Fairyhouse. So that it's interesting to see that he's able to win fresh. He was very good last year. There's no getting away from it. He was second in a Pertemps qualifier at Leopardstown off near enough top weight. His novice chase career, didn't really get off the ground after that beginner's chase win, and he's slightly disappointed in a few races, but he went back to hurdles to run in the Stayers hurdle and came a very creditable second. I think he was actually justifiably a little bit unlucky to not win that race, having missed the last, and after Brian Cooper he was doing the right thing. He was trying to follow Paisley Park into the race, but Paisley Park didn't take him, and how were you to know that Paisley Park would be as much of a bust as he ended up being. Keith Dunhu's back in the saddle on Sunday. Brian Cooper takes the ride on Cracking Smart, which is very interesting. I would have thought it was going to be the other way round on those two, but it will be interesting to see how he fares on seasonal reappearance here. I'll be backing him anyway. I think he actually is the class act of this race, potentially, and hopefully can do very well this year and have a very productive season. The final race in Navan we're going to cover is the Troytown Chase, a handicap chase, and we've got two for you in this race, two each way shouts, both are 16-1. One being the old boy Fitzhenry, another one of the horses to follow, running off a mark of 141. Jody McGarvey takes the ride, second in the race last year, second in the Paddy Power after that, and then was brought to a standstill and running superbly at Leopardstown at the Dublin Racing Festival. He had a spin over hurdles over 2 miles the other week. That was, like, if ever you saw a prep run, that was it. No way this horse should be running over 2 miles over hurdles, but that's the way they've got him prepped. It's the same with At the Acorn. He's been running over 2 mile hurdle races as well. So it's just a way to get a bit of fitness in the legs, and hopefully this horse can really run well. I really hope that he might land one of these big pots this year. If any horse deserves to do so, it is him. And another horse that does deserve to land a pot like this is last year's third Portmore Lough, the big grey horse who ran a stormer for us. If you follow me on Twitter, you know I put him up at 33-1 for the Munster National, and he came an agonising second, having been brought to a standstill at the first. But he jumped superbly down the back at Limerick, and he's just a lovely jumper, and when he gets into a good rhythm, he really is superb. He's actually fallen a couple of times, which I can't understand. It's almost a bit like Mona Lee in his novice chase campaign. He was such a beautiful jumper, and yet every now and then makes an absolute haymaker. Hopefully that won't happen. As I say, he was third in the race last year. Fitzhenry was second in the race last year, both behind Chris's Dream, who's now made up into being a proper Grade 1 performer. There ain't no Chris's Dream there today, on Sunday. The Jam Man maybe is unexposed, maybe has a bit in hand. They're not messing around. They've booked Paul Townend for the ride. Fair enough. Good luck to the McNally team, but he wouldn't be for me personally. And I take these. Maybe some people might say they're exposed, but you know, the solid options in the race, and hopefully one, if not both of them, can at least hit the frame at 16s. Moving on to the Nap and Next Best of the weekend. Nap of the weekend, as I've said already a couple of times on different things, is Lord of Kerak at Sandown. If you know Racing Central, you know that Josh has a pretty good connection with Ollie Murphy. I've been lucky enough to be involved in interviewing Ollie Murphy a couple of times as well. He holds this horse in really high regard. His team aren't probably in the greatest form at the moment. I think he'd admit that himself, but hopefully this horse can get them back on the ball and get them back rolling. He's running the 150 at Sandown, the maiden hurdle. I think he'll take an awful lot of stopping. And the next best is Springtown Lake at Aintree, the 210 at Aintree on Saturday. He's around 5-1 for Philip Hobbs and Tom O'Brien. He won superbly at Warwick last year by 15 or 20 lengths in a 5-runner race before finishing 9th behind Simply the Bets in the Brown Advisory. He runs off an unchanged mark of 142, and I think he should take some stopping. He's not got a bad record fresh either. I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and if you did, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel down below, and of course let me know what your big fancies are for the weekend, whether they're from Wincanton, Navan or over in the Breeders' Cup. I want to know them down below. Of course, check out any of the Cheltenham anti-post videos I've been putting up. Seems to have gone down well last week's update video, so hopefully I'll be doing more of them in time to come. Of course, the Movember link in the description below, as are all the selections if you want to fly through them. If you've missed any of this or you want to just get through them a little bit quicker, do look at them down below, and of course keep yourself interacted. And until next time, where we'll be back previewing Cheltenham Open meeting and the Morgiana Hurdle next week, fingers crossed they both live up to, I suppose, the potential hype around them. Maybe we see Sam Waugh out in action again to boost his champion hurdle claims. But until then, stay safe, stay well, land a few bets over the weekend, and I'll see you guys soon. Cheers.